Now, welcome back to another episode of Last Year Tonight with Dagon Argent, a totally legit show on OBH. Now, this week, we're going to be talking about why video games are an art form. Now, I know a good portion of you think that this, and this are all named Nintendo. Now, none of them are named Nintendo because there's never been a system called Nintendo. That's a company name, and that's only this one. Now, let's explore the definition of art. The expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form, such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. Now, part of that definition is that it is the expression of some kind of emotion. So let's explore it. First, I need you to go down to the description and press on the first link and play a game. Now, I know games might be a little complex for some people, but all you have to do is press the arrow keys and try to go forward. You'll figure it out, I promise. I'll wait for you. You're done? Alright, let's go. You not understood that. But if you did, you will understand that if you put yourself into that shoes of that square, you became really lonely as all the other blocks left you. Now, this is actually going on to a lot of South Korean kids, and this game is trying to put that message forward by showing you how they feel. And that's the thing, is that video games are great at putting you into the shoes of other people, putting you into the shoes of actual decisions being made. It is not about anything pretty. While many games are just for fun, just like movies, like, any Marvel film, they aren't about philosophical questions, they're more about having fun, and there's a lot of games like that, obviously. But there are some games, like many movies, like, let's say, a lot of movies about books that have to do with, like, Grapes of Wrath or something like that, that has to do with a philosophical question. And that's what video games, if they use their mechanics properly, can do. Now, a lot of times this won't be fun, especially with, like this game, Loneliness. Now, another great game that puts you in the shoes of another person is Paper, Please, and hear this guy talk about it.
In Papers, Please, you are a border security agent tasked with keeping your country safe. That's the directive anyway, but like real life, things are a lot more complicated than that. You'll scour the paperwork of refugees and others looking to enter the fictional nation of Arstotzka, sometimes interrogating them or even doing full body searches to confirm that they are who they say they are. Let too many quote-unquote undesirables through, and your pay takes a hit, which directly impacts your ability to feed your own family. If you can't keep them fed and warm, say goodbye to beloved son and uncle. But the stories of the immigrants might make you inclined to bend the rules. A wife wants only to join her family in Arstotzka. Are you really going to turn her away just because all her papers aren't in order? Would you keep a family divided because of what could simply be a clerical error, even though letting her in will directly and negatively impact your own family? It's this sort of moral ambiguity that makes Papers, Please fantastic.
And that's the thing, is that video games are the most powerful medium to show what people go through, what their actual decisions are like, what their pains are. Unlike other mediums, you can make the person taking it in, consuming it, actually feel it, actually making those decisions. Unlike other mediums where it's passive, where you see other people and you can judge them for what they do. But not in video games, because that is you doing it. Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Basically, it preaches Thomas Hobbes' philosophy, which is basically the old cynical grandpa of philosophies, which is very pessimistic. But in the book, it's basically saying that everything is bad. Every human nature is bad, and it has all these children killing each other, basically. Now, what if I told you there was a video game that actually had a very similar philosophy? Not the exact same one, but a very similar one, and it's kind of weird. What did I just see? What did we just see? Yes, I am arguing that this game named Undertale, never look it up. I swear you don't want to know what kind of weird stuff has been made about it. But basically, we're concerned with one main thing. Its main mechanic. And it's the fact that in the game, you can spare every single monster. You do not have to kill them. And you could instead use puzzles to try to calm them down or something else and basically spare them and not have to kill them. And that is called the pacifist route, if you spare everyone. And this part of the game, this is where I need to say why it's very Thomas Hobbes. The reason it's very Thomas Hobbes is many people in the gaming community, when they first play this, kill Goat Mama. Goat Mama is basically this woman. Her name is Toriel, and the thing about her is that she tries to prevent the main character from exploring the underground, which is basically the world that you're in. It's underground, basically. And if you play it normally, you kill her. Because a lot of people that play this game, especially if they play it without any spoilers, have the mindset of a normal video game. And they kill her. And that's what the game is supposed to show, is that a lot of video gamers have an instinct of always killing in their games. And it's kind of making this argument that not necessarily that video games themselves, because it does have a pacifist route and shows that people can be compassionate, but it also shows that a lot of us deep inside do instinctually go to murder, because a lot of people, when they try to spoil people when they're playing this game, they're like, no, don't kill her. But that's the point. I would link to you to an argument about this, but it's very vulgar. You know what? I'm going to show. If I show it, I'll show it now.
The point is that when I first played Undertale, I didn't know. If you don't believe me, here's a clip of me killing Toriel in the 3rd episode of my playthrough. Did I just kill Tori? No. No. Oh, no. Are you supposed to do that? Did I fuck up? It's horrible, right? This wonderful old goat mama was nothing but warm and loving toward you, and you just straight up waste her because she tries to stop you from venturing off into danger and getting yourself killed. The thing is, if you don't know how this game works, you don't expect Toriel to actually die forever right then and there, because if this were like any other video game, the character you'd have to fight to prove you're ready to go on your journey or whatever would just fall to one knee and tell you how your skills have improved so much, and how you've grown, and how they know you'll make it out there, and whatever the else overused video game nonsense we've seen a million times over. But no. This game is like, listen up, I'm about to sit your ass down and learn you some shit. Namely, that if you beat somebody in a fight, they are dead. The way the game conveys this to you is masterfully done. Everything disappears from the screen except for 2 hearts, yours and Toriel's. Her heart trembles and shatters. It's powerful stuff, and it's designed to have a huge impact on you your first playthrough. You're not supposed to know that by simply beating Toriel, she'll be dead and gone forever, because this was the first time you've been in a situation where you're going up against a character that's actually relevant to the story. Everything up to this point is just random encounters with monsters that you've probably also killed most of because it's an RPG, and that's typically what you do in RPGs.
But probably not. But the thing about it is that you're kind of meant to kill her. And it's kind of to show your violence. The person's violence. And that's what video games can do. They're so much powerful because they can actually show people's raw emotions, what they actually think, what they're actually going to do, their actual decisions. Especially if you don't expect negative consequences like normal. Because normally, in video games, she wouldn't have died. She would have just been defeated. And like in any other video, like Pokemon, they just come back. And in this one, if you kill them, injure them enough, get them to 0 HP, they're dead. And this game kind of shows that. Kind of shows our lack of empathy. But it helps us grow that empathy. Because a lot of people regret killing Toriel. And while it may show Thomas Hobbes' initial prediction of people are violent, people are murderous, it kind of shows that people can also become empathetic. And maybe not necessarily that we're all violent beings. Now that I brought it up, I gotta talk about violence. And a lot of people thinking that video games cause violence. Now, whether or not it does, we need to do actual research into that. But there's some things that people say sometimes.
The video games, the movies, the internet stuff is so violent. It's so incredible. I see it. I get to see things that you'd be amazed at. I have a very young son who I look at some of the things he's watching and I say, how is that possible? And this is what kids are watching.
And
Tell them, Call of Duty. I don't do any of these, but
like Grand Theft Auto.
yeah, they're simulated violence.
It's a criminal simulator, a murder simulator.
Yeah, Evan Ramsey.
and
The Norway killer trained on those. He said he trained on them. 69 dead on an island in Norway, and he spent a year training on video games to prepare himself for this crime.
wait. So, doing this. Yeah, because, sitting on your couch playing video games, it will teach you exactly how to murder. It will teach you how to get a gun, shoot it, and run around, do drills, and shoot people, right? That's exactly what it does. Now, here's the thing, though, that you need to consider is that what about everything else? What about literally the rest of our culture? What is it? Marvel movies, violence, comic books, violence, any movie, The Godfather. If Civil Kane has it, I'll show a clip of Civil Kane. Oh, yeah, really, violence. Let's see. Now, those you might say, oh, but they're modern things and they're violent and we shouldn't allow it. But what about books? Let's talk about books. What about this passage from the Iliad? The very first few words, in fact.
Rage. Goddess, sing the rage of Peleus' son Achilles, murderous, doomed, that cost the Achaeans countless losses, hurling down to the house of death so many sturdy souls. These are the first words of the Western tradition. This is how we open the Iliad, the book which serves as a bedrock of Western culture, and defined the society that defined the West down to today. It's foundational, seminal, a book of great meaning and great worth. It's a cultural touchstone, a work without which Western literature as we understand it would not exist. And yet, it's about rage. It's about anger and violence, about destruction, wrath.
Rage, violence, whoa. Huh. Alright, and the Bible. Seriously. The First Testament. God is basically mad with the entirety of human existence in the First Testament. The only times he's not, trying to kill the Jews is basically when they're enslaved by the Egyptians, or when Noah builds an ark for him. I mean, only 5 people survive in that case, but you know what I mean. And there's a few other instances, but not many. Most of them are very violent by God. I mean, our founding literature, the Bible, the Iliad, are both about violence. A lot about violence. And that's the thing, is that even modern day books like Huckleberry Finn, I mean, there's a lot of things Mark Twain says about violence in that, but it's mostly about that civilization causes violence. But even then, it's saying civilization cannot exist without violence, and that's kind of true. We get into war, but there's also the fact that it is our outlet. What about sports like martial arts, football, all those things are violent. Don't tell me they're not. Because all of them are about hurting others. Now, these are not exactly about actually going out and stabbing someone and killing them. That's something different. And that's not what video games do. In those instances that someone goes out and actually tries to go kill because of something else, like some kind of media, like video games, it's not exactly always just because only video games. It's also because of negligence from their parents. Honestly, if video games had the same attention and the same kind of advising mentors as, like, let's say martial arts. In martial arts, you have someone, you could easily use your knowledge of martial arts to hurt someone, to kill someone. But the reason that people don't do it is because they have guidance. And they learn that that's not what you're supposed to do with it. And football, other sports like rugby, that one is rough. But you learn through your coaches and through your mentors and your senseis that you're not supposed to use that for bad. And that's the thing, is that we need some kind of guidance to show kids that video games can be harnessed for good. Like, in those other instances, you can use that to relieve stress, to pent up aggression against other person. You can have a honorable martial art fight with someone you're having problems with, and you can resolve it that way. You can do the same thing with video games, but the thing is that you can't just leave your child alone with them. Like, you can't leave them alone with movies or with books, because if you leave them alone with no guidance, they can misinterpret what's going on in the media, what's going on in what they consume. And they can become the worst kind of people, the people that don't understand what's real or what is societally expected. Because in a lot of those cases that they do somehow influence them, even though they shouldn't have, because of their parents should have been better parents. Their parents are kind of neglectful, and they got guns and all that weaponry from their parents. A lot of that cases. And that's the thing, is that the thing is, you just need to guide them. Not ban it, because you won't ban, like, movies because they're violent and they show kids how to be violent. Kids are always going to be violent because that's what we are. We're violent beings. We've been meant to kill and murder because we're hunters. We're meant to do that. We're supposed to protect ourselves. We are naturally hardwired to kill. That's why we meet. That's why a lot of our media and a lot of our entertainment is violent, is because that's who we truly are. We're savages, just tamed.